Thanks, Mostafa, for coming. So you are our partner from London. You joined KLM company in London a few years ago. KLM meets Kitchen Lafroine Morgan and nothing to do with the airlines company. So KLM is part of our international retail network, an association we created for about 9 years. So you, Mostafa, have a passion for retail. Could you explain what's your job?
I've been at Kitchen Lafroine Morgan, so KLM, as you say, for maybe 9 years or so now. And effectively, we look after many clients' requirements. So any brands that want to come from France or Spain or Germany, we help them expand in the UK. We also handle investments as well. So we have many pension funds, we have many individual wealthy people that want to buy in London, and at the moment there's many people looking to do just that. We handle development work as well, and any professional work, so looking at leases and helping clients with their leases. That's mainly our role, summarized.
The same in France.
Yes.
Okay. And you like working with French retailers. Can you give us name of brands you are working with? We already made first openings together in London, like Sushi Shop, Brandy Melville, and so on.
Brandy Melville and Sushi Shop are two good examples where we met, and you gave me a good understanding of what they like to do in Paris, where they like to open throughout France, and I tried to replicate that in London. So those were two good deals we did for Brandy Melville in Chelsea, King's Road, and also just off Carnaby Street in the heart of the West End. Also, we worked with Comptoir de Cotonnier, where we opened about 14 stores for them around the whole of the UK. It was very successful in the store openings, which was great. We also worked with many international brands as well. So, as you know, we've worked jointly on expanding people like Bimber and Lola. You've done France, and we've done it in Spain, but I've also opened their stores in London. We've opened the first stores for Kiko on Regent Street. Swatch, we represented them. Bodji, we opened their stores in Chelsea on King's Road, and IWC, part of the Richemont Group, recently on New Bond Street.
Many of my clients ask me for details about London retail. They plan to open their first store there, but they would like to know more about the local rules and values. Could you give us a short overview of London market first?
At the moment, it's very competitive, in the same way that Paris is very competitive, and Munich and Zurich. Very competitive because you'll see many brands looking to come here to open their first stores. Good examples of this is the American brands whose first store outside of the US will normally be in London first, mainly because of language situations, and I guess it's easier for them to do it. But good examples are Forever 21, Coach, Victoria's Secrets, and now American Eagle being the most recent ones. And then, successful or not successful, that's when they then expand to other major cities. And that's, so what that does is create a lot of competition for space in London. Then when people cannot get into certain streets like Regent Street or Oxford Street or Bond Street, it starts to overspill into the streets nearby. So it's very competitive.
That's why the rents are so high.
Correct.
Many demands.
Correct.
And a few offers.
Correct.
So what about the leasing term? Almost all leases include an upward-only provision, meaning that even if the market falls, your rent will not decrease.
Correct, which is a bad point that we have. But effectively, most leases that we sign in London, historically they were 20 years, 25 years. Now, because of the international influence in London, we are probably 10 to 15 years, depending on how competitive. The landlord obviously wants you to sign for 15 years. You may only want to sign for 10 years. International brands are quite concerned about signing for 10 or 15 years because they're not used to it in their home countries. They would prefer a break clause in year 7. It's possible, but it depends on the competition at the time. Then, of course, we have the upward-only rent review provision, which means that every 5 years we have a rent review. It's not inflation led. And even if the rents, if we have a crisis, God forbid again, and the markets go down, your rent will not follow. The only time the rent will go down is when the lease ends, and then a new lease is a new lease and a new rent is confirmed. And
that's good for landlords.
That it's good for landlords for 10 or 15 years, correct. And that's why so many people want to invest there, because it's a safe. It's a safe investment. Yeah.
Also, there is a right to assign. Most leases give the tenant the right to sell its lease, so it's known as an assignment. Could you comment?
Correct, yeah. So a lease assignment is a lease transfer, effectively. Everybody has the right to transfer their lease. So although you have a 10-year lease or a 15-year lease, you have the right, if it doesn't work for you or if you need to move, to transfer that lease to someone else and either request key money or, in some instances, pay someone to take your lease from you.
Many French clients still imagine there is no key money on premium in London. That's totally wrong. Key monies are known as premiums in the UK. They are known common mainly on Regent Street, Oxford, Bond Street.
Historically, we never used to have key money, and if we did, it was small, and it was in certain circumstances, certain times. Because again of the international influence that we've had, key money has come in a big way, particularly on the streets you mentioned. So Regent Street, key money is big. On Oxford Street, big key money. On Bond Street, probably the biggest, the largest amount of key money.
Can you give us an idea about the level of the key monies?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we'll start with Regent Street, which is controlled 90% by one landlord. So it's quite difficult to get into that particular street. We completed a deal recently, which was the old Ferrari store, which we sold to Hackett. And we achieved about 4 million key money on a store where the rent was about 1.5 million. So it was a good deal, but around the 4 million kind of mark. Bigger space goes for more, so you could pay more for that. It could go up to, well, we've seen Superdry pay up to 12 million for 12. Yeah.
And for you, is the highest key money you?
I think that's the highest I've seen on Regent Street.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah. Then when we're dealing with Oxford Street, again it varies. There are very different landlords on that street, but at the height of the market, we could be talking £1 million for key money on the street. As you know, Forever 21 signed 2 leases there. The first one they paid about 13 million key money, and then they wanted to extend into Desigual's space next door, and they paid another 6 million key money.
Wow.
So that's quite a rare case though, and not recommended to your clients.
Old Bond Street is...
Sorry, yes, an Old Bond Street, so the luxury street. There is key money on every shop in New Bond Street.
Even for small size.
Even for small, particularly for small ones as well, where the jewellers, all of the watch brands, the jewellers want to be there. The jewellery section in the middle, or at the lower end in particular, you can expect to pay now 10 to 15 million key money.
For 50 square meter?
Well, yeah, I mean, even for 40 square meters last year, there were 2 deals, and one in particular was at 8.2 million to one of the big watch brands. So, so yes. Huge. Correct.
And what about the rental cost? We both, France, UK, have VAT 20%, but French retailers are scared by business rates, circa 33% of your rent.
Yes, you're right. It's unique. I've never seen it anywhere else around the world, but London or the UK has it. At the moment, there are many retailers trying to fight against changing this, which has been in our market for years and years. So effectively, this is a tax that you pay to the government every month, and it goes towards fixing the roads, the police, the lighting, security, for the whole of the country. But unfortunately, we have high rents, but we also have this additional, anywhere between 33 and 45% of your rent goes as a tax. So it is quite painful on your P&L when you're putting that together. But it can also be rewarding to trade in London. The turnovers can be very high, and sometimes this can be written off. You only feel it when trade is bad.
Okay, fortunately business is fine in London.
Not always, but when it is, we won't complain. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's talk about the rent and values on high streets like Oxford, Regent Street, Bond Street. Can you comment?
So again, the rents in these are very competitive, again, because of the international expansion of brands, the national expansion of brands, because this is a big shop window to the rest of the world. So people want to come and put their flagships on there. And I don't think they're too concerned if it is not massively profitable. They want the store to look the best so that they can show it to the world. So that has pushed the rents higher. So to give you an idea, we will the way we calculate this is on a ITZA basis, on a Zone A basis. So the first 6.1 meters, or on Oxford Street, the first 9 meters is the most expensive, and we do not calculate on an overall basis. So to give you an idea, if we had a hypothetical shop of 150 square meters, and then we take it to different parts of London, they will give you the following kind of numbers. So if we go to Bond Street, that kind of size will cost you about £1 million in rent. If we take that to Old Bond Street, particularly the jewellery part, that could be 1.3 to 1.5 million today. If we take that same shop and we go to Oxford Street, prime Oxford Street, that could cost you about £900,000. We go to Regent Street, that could cost you about £700,000. So it gives you an idea, that same shop of 150 square metres going to different locations, that's the kind of rents that we're talking. Don't forget then you have your key money to pay, and don't forget you have your
business rate.
Correct, yeah, to pay, which all adds up, but when it works very well. If it doesn't work, it's pretty painful, and that's when we need to go back to the lease transfer to exit.
Okay.
So what are the fashionable streets for French brands like Sandro, Mage, The Couple, and so on?
Fashionable, obviously, is a wide
Yeah.
range, so we have different areas. But
Yeah, like Comptoir des Cotonniers, Mage, Sandro, and so on.
okay, so brands like that, when they come to the UK, generally these guys will focus on the main 5 streets as their first 5 openings, and these are typically going to be South Malton Street, they're going to be Marylebone High Street, there will be Kings Road, Westbourne Grove, as in Notting Hill, and somewhere small like Hampstead, which tend to work very well for these guys. It's a very similar demographic, but in different parts, and so there's no real cannibalization in these areas.
And what about trendy locations?
Trendy locations, so
For example, for French brands like Loft, Aesop.
yeah, so those guys here, we do not have a fully developed Le Marais at the moment. We don't have it, or a Soho in New York. We don't have a fully developed one, but we are on our way. And those areas are places like Shoreditch and Soho, and they are beginning to make good progress. And you will find in those areas, you'll find APC, you'll find Aesop, you'll find Loft, you will find James Perse, you'll find all of those guys, and it's moving at a good pace at the moment. And the most recent project which is coming through is now King's Cross, which was a very badly undeveloped place many years ago, known for drugs and prostitution and that kind of thing. And now they have some beautiful old, dirty-looking buildings which look fantastic, and they're being cleaned up. And Google is having its head office there, and and Louis Vuitton will have its head office there as well. And so a lot of brands are now looking at it, and I fully expect all of the trendy brands to follow in that. So that's the advice I would give.
After all this bad news about rent and taxes, so why should you expand in London?
London is equally as important as the main locations that brands want to be the shop window for international expansion. And those main cities will be Zurich, will be Munich, Paris, New York, and London sits in with those. And this is why people have to open here, because it opens the doors to the Far East, it opens the doors to the Middle East, it opens the doors to to Russia and to other places. So so very important place. And whilst the taxes are high and the rents are high, you can still make good money in the UK market. It's not all failure. It's just when it fails badly because. So.
Okay, great. So let's continue opening successful stores
Indeed.
together.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mostafa.
Thank you.